Mind has another very serious problem. We know that mind is always in a flux. Sometimes you are happy, sometimes you are not happy. Sometimes mind is working, sometimes mind is not working. Sometimes mind is paying attention, sometimes mind is not paying attention. This can always happen. But the really important thing is that you are aware that your mind is in a flux. Not only that, if you sit for meditation, like in Buddhist meditation, there is a particular meditation where they watch their mind working. And they have that regression therapy where you can go on, where you have to go on thinking backward. That what thought preceded the thought that you have right now. That means you are watching your own thoughts. Now there are many explanations to all this. But the idea is that the mind, as we understand, is in flux, and that flux is observed by something. That means there has to be something more subtle than this flux thing. Secondly, a very important thing is that there is a fundamental law of life that nothing can act on itself. Please keep this thing in mind. This is a major argument that the Vedanta uses for 1,000 things. There is nothing that can act on itself. For example, here is my right hand, and I can grasp anything with this right hand, but I cannot grasp my own right hand with this right hand. You cannot. The eyes can see the entire world, but cannot see itself. The famous expression in Sanskrit is swa kriya abhava. Action on itself is impossible. Whenever there is action on itself, so for example, there is a sword. A sword can cut anything, but that sword cannot cut itself. A sword can cut another sword, but not itself. This is a very, very, very famous saying, swa kriya abhav. Swa means self. The action on oneself is not possible. Now, if action on itself is not possible, then how is it that mind, the knower, knows mind? The mind is a knowing instrument. And you say that I know my mind. I know I am not happy. I know I am angry. I know my mind was not attentive. So there has to be something more fundamental that is observing mind too. Because mind cannot know itself by its very nature. Like your eyes cannot see your own eyes, your ears cannot hear yourself, and your hand cannot hold yourself. Nothing can act on itself. Mind, as a knower, cannot know itself. So there has to be something which is more fundamental. Why more fundamental? Because when you want to grasp something, the thing itself has to be more fundamental. Supposing we want to measure the length of this table, and you come with a long pole to measure it. No, you cannot measure it. If there is a long pole, you cannot measure this table. To measure this table, you need a smaller unit, some inch tape, with the help of which you measure that, oh, it's slightly less than a meter. It's always the subtle that helps you measure the gross. You cannot grasp this subtle with the help of gross. You catch the gross with the help of the subtle. Whatever is catching the mind has to be much more subtle than mind itself. Because mind cannot be the ultimate knowing entity because we are knowing the mind. Because we know the mind, so mind cannot be the ultimate knower. And because something is known by something more subtle, so the actual knower has to be far more subtle than mind. And this subtler than mind, and because it's subtle, it's much more powerful than mind. The moment you think of moon, you have reached moon. The power of this subtle thing has to be more and more than that. And that is where comes Atman. That which is behind this mind, that which knows mind also, that which reaches moon and star faster than The mind. That is Atman. Then you will say, what about self-knowledge? Just now we discussed that something cannot act on itself. So what about self-knowledge, Atmagyan? If Atman is the ultimate knower, then how do you know Atman? No, you never know Atman. This is a popular misconception that normally people have. Nobody can ever know the Atman. No one can ever know God. No one can ever know consciousness, because it is the ultimate knowing principle. Being the ultimate knowing principle, it can never be known. So how exactly you know it? How exactly you become an Atmagyani? How do you become all-knowing? It says that when you go into the depth of meditation, when your mind becomes completely still, then mind as if does not exist. Then what exists? Whatever is there, that alone exists. And you cannot know it because mind has become still. You know, this is a very interesting paradox. Knowledge requires mind. Means functionality of mind. Mind has to be functional. Now, till mind is functioning, Atman cannot be realized. Mind has to be completely still. And if mind becomes completely still, only then you can know Atman. And if you know Atman, you cannot say you have known because mind is not there. This is a beautiful expression like catch-22. The expression catch-20 is exactly for this kind of thing. Till you have mind, you cannot know Atman. If you know Atman, mind is not there. But without mind, how can you say that you have known it? Because if mind is working, you cannot know Atman. And if mind stops working, you cannot know Atman. Neither way you can know Atman. Because mind is the way to know things. Actually, nobody can know Atman. So actually what happens? When mind becomes still, something like as happens during deep sleep. Now when you come back from deep sleep, or when you come back from unconscious state, when you come back from, say, a coma state, you have some kind of memory. When you are coming back, you don't remember anything. You just say that, well, I was in deep sleep. I don't remember anything. I don't remember what happened. So you have that idea of, I don't remember. But when you go into samadhi, when you have this experience of the self, when you come back, you don't say, I don't remember anything. You say, I remember. I cannot express what I experienced because mind is not there. But I can tell you that it is the ultimate power, it is the ultimate joy, it is the ultimate existence.